Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Gaura Premanande, Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Sri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta, Sri Simad His Divine Grace, Shirabai Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, ISKCON BBT, Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Jai Thai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshurunmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Dalita Sri Vishakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Ramasamitam Uttama-shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam tvangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Last few days we've been reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Since yesterday was Nityananda Trayodasi, appearance of Nityananda Prabhu. And we are continuing to read from the Adilila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is chapter 5. Describing bit more in detail, who is that special personality of Nityananda Prabhu. So in this chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining in different verses and elaborating quite in detail, actually. So we're jumping a little bit here to text 92 of this 5th chapter. And prior to this text, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has explained the 9th verse, and now text 92 is introducing the 10th verse. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Text 92. Eta navame slokera artha vivarana dasama slokera artha shano diya mana. Translation: I have thus explained the 9th verse, and now I shall explain the 10th. Please listen with rapt attention. Text 93. Yasyam shamsha srila garbhadashai yanna vyajam loka sanghata nalam loka srastu sutika dhamadhatus tam Sri Nityananda Ramam prapadyate. Translation: I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhadakshay Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhadakshay Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. Purport. In the Mahabharata Shanti Parva, it is said that he who is Pradyumna is also Aniruddha. He is also the father of Brahma. Thus, Garbhadakshay Vishnu and Kshirodakshay Vishnu are identical plenary expansions of Pradyumna, the original deity of Brahma, who is born from the lotus flower. It is Pradyumna who gives Brahma direction for cosmic management. A full description of Brahma's birth is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto number 3, chapter 8, verse 15 and 16. Describing the features of the three Purushas, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita says that Garbhodakshai Vishnu has a four-handed form, and when he himself enters the hollow of the universe and lies down in the ocean of milk, he is known as Kshirodakshai Vishnu. From Garbhodakshai Vishnu, the third expansion of Vishnu is this Kshirodakshai Vishnu lying on the ocean of milk, who is the super soul of all living entities, including the demigods. In the Sattvata Tantra, it is said that the third Purusha incarnation, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is situated as a super soul in everyone's heart. This Kshirodakshai Vishnu is an expansion of Garbhodakshai Vishnu for pastimes. So in this way, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami goes into more details about the potencies of such expansions, just to explain to us and help us understand who is Nityananda Prabhu. He is that same personality who is expanding from Lord Balaram in these different personalities. And then, just skipping a little bit, a few verses here, this is text 99. Tanhai prakata koila vaikunta nijadhama shesha shayana jale korila vistram. Translation: there he manifested Vaikunta as his abode and rested in the waters on the bed of Lord Shesha. Yes. This is going into some descriptions of the creation of Lord Brahma from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Text 106. Hiranyagarbha antarjami jagat karanam yandraham sakari kare virat kalpana. He is a super soul, Hiranyagarbha, the cause of the material world. The universal form is conceived as his expansion. Text 107. Hena narayana yandra amsera amsha se Prabhu Nityananda salva avatamsa. That Lord Narayana is a part of a plenary part of Lord Nityananda Balaram, who is the source of all incarnations. This ends this 10th verse. Now the 11th verse is as follows. Dasamas lokera artha koila vivarana ekadasha slokera artha shuno diyamana. I have thus explained the 10th verse. Now please listen to the meaning of the 11th verse with all your mind. yasyam sham shamsha parat makilanam posta vishnur bhati dugdhabdhi shaim kshoni bhartayat kala sopyanantas tam Sri Nityananda Ramam prapadyate. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all universes. Sheshanaga is his further subpart. Yes. Yes. Text 126. Seta ananta yandra kai ekaka kala hena Prabhu Nityananda ke jane tandra kela. That person of whom Lord Ananta is a kala, or a part of a plenary part, is Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who therefore can know the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. And this is concluding here. E sab pramane jani Nityananda tattva siman tanha ke ananta kahi kitandra mahima. From these conclusions we can know the limit of the truth of Lord Nityananda. But what glory is there in calling him Ananta? Yes. So this is quite involved in detail. Text 134. Erupe Nityananda Ananta Prakasha Se Bhave Kahe Muni Chaitanya Radhasa. Thus Lord Nityananda has unlimited incarnations. In transcendental emotion, he calls himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Kabhu Guru, Kabhu Sakha, Kabhu Bhritya Leela, Purve Yena Tinna Bhave, Braje Koila Kela. Sometimes he serves Lord Chaitanya as his guru, sometimes as his friend, and sometimes as his servant, just as Lord Balaram played with Lord Krishna in these different moods in Braja. Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and this was a very confidential, this was not known to so many. That's a whole lila, of course. Immediately after taking sannyas, of course, Nityananda Prabhu was one of the few who was present when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And Lord Chaitanya, we will recall, was in the mood of going to Vrindavan. He was. It's like when someone makes a major decision in life. Okay, I'm going to join the ashram. I'm going to shave up. Of course, in India, when someone shaves up, it's like practically becoming a sannyasi, you know. Everyone at some particular point is called upon to make some big decisions in life, major decisions, you know, life-changing decisions. So this was like a major a step and a major decision that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had made. So generally, when we make such major decisions, you know, our emotions are very much involved, heightened. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this very intense feeling of separation from Vrindavan, and his only thought and purpose and intent at that time was how to go to Vrindavan. And of course, the devotees, it was the news spread very quickly that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas, and especially Nityananda Prabhu, who of course, like Balaram, who knew who was Lord Chaitanya, who understood his mood, his mentality. He also understood that if Lord Chaitanya immediately goes to Vrindavan, it's going to be too much for the devotees in Navadvip and surrounding areas. So as Lord Chaitanya was proceeding towards Vrindavan, he was being followed actually by Nityananda Prabhu and a few other associates, and there were different cowherd boys, because in those days that's what boys would do, as we were discussing the other day. Young boys would be looking after cows, and knowing in which direction Lord Chaitanya was going, Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees with him informed some of the cowherd boys, when one sannyasi is going to be coming this way, when he comes and asks you where is Vrindavan, which direction, you tell him to go this way, not this way. So sure enough, you know, the boy directed Lord Chaitanya to go in this particular direction. And then as Lord Chaitanya was in full bliss, ecstasy, it's like, you know, after meditating, you know, before we come to consciousness, before we come to Krishna consciousness, it's like generally a major decision. Because we know the heavy burden and anxieties and pressures of the material world. And when we make this decision, it's like a big relief, you know. So Lord Chaitanya was of course, beyond just a relief. He was swimming in the ocean of ecstasy, thinking of his Vrindavan and of his beloved devotees in Vrindavan. So he was very less aware of the surroundings. So as he was going along, he was following the Ganga because they had told him, yeah, this is the Yamuna. This is the Yamuna. It was actually the Ganga. Then at one point, as he came, as he was walking by, he saw Advaita Prabhu in a boat, calling him, please come. So he started to become a little confused. Vrindavan, Yamuna, what's Advaita doing in the Yamuna here in, in Vrindavan? And so this was all arranged actually by by Nityananda Prabhu, and that was a whole lila, of course, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did spend quite a few days in Shantipur. At that time, the Ganges, now it's not flowing by Shantipur, but very close to the residence of Advaita Acharya. Actually, every year we visit just a few days before the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the appearance of Madhavendra Puri. So not only did Nityananda Prabhu take initiation and shelter from Madhavendra Puri, but also Advaita Acharya. So in that way they are like godbrothers. So on this particular day, on this particular appearance of Madhavendra Puri, at that time, yeah. Anyways, at that time, yeah, the Ganges was flowing there. So after spending a few days in Shantipur, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything was kind of, all the devotees from Navadvip and surrounding areas, they came, and everyone had to accept because Lord Chaitanya was already shaved up and in his sannyas dress. And so there was a decision made with the consent and the blessings of all the devotees that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not go immediately to Vrindavan, but would be remaining or staying in Jagannath Puri. This was actually the desire of Sachi Mata, Mother Sachi, who felt that if Lord Chaitanya, if my Nimai goes to Vrindavan, Vrindavan is very, very far away compared to Jagannath Puri. So that is when, after spending some time in Shantipur, with his danda, Lord Chaitanya, accompanied by a few devotees, and in particular Nityananda Prabhu, they started to travel to Jagannath Puri. And when they arrived in Orissa, there's, I forget the name of the river, one river they had to cross. Actually, devotees who went to Jagannath Puri had to cross many rivers. There were no bridges at that time. So there's a whole pastime that is nicely described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nityananda Prabhu was not very happy. Actually, none of the devotees were happy that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas because they they were so attached to Lord Chaitanya and so affectionate to him, and they understood that taking sannyas is like a big austerity. In a similar way, that's actually our own Srila Prabhupada, he explains that actually after I left family life, I was not actually thinking, although Prabhupada went to Vrindavan and took Vanaprastha, but Prabhupada explained later on that I was not planning to take sannyas. I did not want to take sannyas. The thought of taking sannyas was very, repulsive to him. But I was, Prabhupada explains, my Guru Maharaj forced me to take sannyas, because he came more than once, more than twice in his dream to tell him to actually take sannyas. So Nityananda Prabhu and other devotees who were accompanying him were, they had to accept what Lord Chaitanya said and decided. But at that particular place, this still was a good distance before Jagannath Puri. As Lord Chaitanya was taking bath in this river, I believe it is in the one of our devotees as we enter Orissa, that first district, that river is there. So there's still quite a long distance actually to Jagannath Puri. So as Lord Chaitanya was bathing, Nityananda Prabhu, because he's known as Avadut. Avadut means you can expect anything at any time. So he took Lord Chaitanya's danda and he broke it. He threw it away. So when Lord Chaitanya came back after taking his bath, so changed his dress and where's my danda? And then came to know that his danda was no longer there. So he got somewhat upset, and he just left everyone. He ran. He started running towards Jagannath Puri, and that's why that's the whole pastime. Of course, means Lord Chaitanya arrived in Jagannath Puri alone, right? And he was he was anxious naturally. That was his first visit to Jagannath Puri, first darshan of Lord Jagannath, and that's also nicely described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was simply overwhelmed by the darshan, his first darshan of Lord Jagannath, and completely lost external consciousness, fainted, and was so deeply absorbed that in temples in India, and I've seen here in the temple in Mayapur, there are some people who just kind of like put a big show. They come and they start rolling on the ground, and they start shedding tears, etc., like that. So many times they are like it's somewhat external. It's not the real thing, so to speak. So some of the pandas there were thinking that he was imitating like this, and but it is described how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was like the main pandit there and highly respected by everyone, and he came to the scene and he told everyone, no, let me closely he observed Lord Chaitanya. Anyways, they ended up taking Lord Chaitanya to the residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then after some time, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, along with so many devotees, they arrived in Vrindavan. And so like this, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, there are, while actually Lord Chaitanya, after going to Jagannath Puri, requested, although Nityananda Prabhu wanted to stay with, it's like, you want to be with your best friend, your closest associate. Nityananda Prabhu wanted to stay with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. Then Lord Chaitanya, he explained to him, he says, I've come here to Jagannath Puri, and if you also stay in Jagannath Puri, then who's going to save all the conditioned souls in Bengal? You have to go back to Bengal, and you have to make your headquarters in Bengal, and you have to preach. And actually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu to not leave Vrindavan, Bengal, to not leave Bengal. Of course, Nityananda Prabhu could not follow that order, and he would come every year with the devotees. It's nicely described again in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how for 20 consecutive years, every year the devotees would go on a pilgrimage, and with so many associates, very close associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So some of his associates were living in Jagannath Puri, and others, like Nityananda Prabhu, were in Bengal. So while Lord Chaitanya was performing his pastimes in Orissa, in Jagannath Puri, Nityananda Prabhu was primarily, because before meeting, as we know, we were discussing this the other day, he had already traveled to so many holy places, isn't it, before finally coming to Navadvip and meeting with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was primarily preaching in Bengal, in different places, and he had, just like Lord Chaitanya, had his close associates. Nityananda Prabhu also had his close associates. They're all described also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyways, there are many wonderful pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu, who was, there's a pastime of that very nice verse is there also. Shono Shono Nityananda Shono Haridas. This verse describes the particular order that was given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, which is an order that all of us need to carry, because it's the order for introducing the chanting of the holy name, for introducing the Sankirtan movement. And we can understand actually by this order that both Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur were the first two Sankirtan devotees going out and preaching the Sankirtan movement. And that is how in Navadvip, of course, a whole lila of meeting with Jagai and Madai, that's a whole other pastime that is there. So that verse is very nice. Shono Shono Nityananda Shono Haridas Sarvatra Agya Shono Shono Nityananda Shono Haridas Sarvatra Koro Aprakash Prati Gori Gori Giye Koro e bitka, bolo Krishna, bhaja Krishna, koro Krishna shikha. This verse explains how you please go from house to house, from home to home, and simply beg or request the residents of that home, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Karo Krishna Shikha, to chant the holy name, to worship the Lord, and to preach the message of Lord Krishna as given in the Bhagavad Gita. So that was the primary order given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Nityananda Prabhu. So therefore he would travel with his associates to so many different places. And one of those places, of course, was in Panihati. That whole Leela is there. And the meeting of Raghunath Das Goswami and receiving the blessings and the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu to actually meet with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this, we can just close on this point. It is nicely explained by our acharyas that we cannot come to know and understand about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna without understanding about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we cannot enter these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without receiving the blessings and the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. So in the same way that we cannot go to Radha and Krishna without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that's why those who don't accept or reject, those who reject actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, the Pancha Tattva, because they have especially demonstrated by their teachings and by their personal example these intimate pastimes that were performed in Brajabhumi, in Vrindavan, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So therefore, this also means that without, because Nityananda Prabhu, as we read a few minutes ago, he sometimes plays the role of a servant, sometimes the role of guru. So without the blessing of the spiritual master, without the blessing of Nityananda Prabhu, we cannot obtain the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and without obtaining that mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we also cannot obtain the mercy of Radha and Krishna. These are very elaborate subject matters that are more discussed, of course, in more detail in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we will close here for now. Jai Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanande.